So I'm Christophe Bianco, I'm 50 years now, for a few months now. I'm living in Luxembourg for 20 years. Right after my studies I came to Luxembourg. So I was born south of France. I did my study in Brittany. I'm the father of one daughter, 30 years old. I'm remarried with my previous wife, so that's a typical case of resilience in cybersecurity where I'm from. So I'm an engineer, so my initial studies were in telecommunication and banking. And since that time I did several degrees in management, in merging and acquisition, in criminality. And so, as you said, I'm the co-founder of Excellium Services. So we started the company 10 years ago. We did our exit the week of my 50, and it's funny because I always said to myself that I will work up to 50. And so now I'm still continuing to work, but I got the capabilities to stop if things are not going well, and so that's a kind of achievement, and I think as an entrepreneur you need to have objectives. The initial thinking were, what do we want to do and what do we want to address? And it was 10 years ago. And 10 years ago, our thinking was that, I should not say that for my competitor, but the point was, nobody was trying to focus on one main issue in cybersecurity that we were thinking could happen rapidly, which was how to manage an incident. Company will be facing cybersecurity incidents sooner or later. And so we need to work on that topics. And so we decided to focus the company on securing application, because that's one of the main vectors of insecurity. And secondly, to bring capability to organization to resist to a cyber incident. And that's still what we are doing, not with the same scale, but that's exactly what we are trying to address even today. So Excellium is got operation in Belgium and Luxembourg, but we have also a sister company or a spin-off active in Africa. And so we serve 24 countries in Africa, and we serve in Europe something like 4 or 5 countries, mainly the French-speaking one. I don't think you can be alone, because if I look what happened to us, I will not say that is the common practice, but we spent 10 years to build what Excellium is. And I can tell you it's 10 years, 24/7, weekend included, and all these kind of things. So during your life, you have moments where you cannot. For example, I divorced during that 10 years. I remember that for 3 weeks, I was not here, but the company needs to continue to move on. And so my partner said, okay, stay home, change your mind, do what you want, but keep 3 weeks out because you are not here, and you need to have that capability because it happened to you on a personal side or professional side, some downtime, and I think it's too difficult to be alone for such kind of things. And an entrepreneur is very alone. All the issues that you're facing, you are alone, whatever people said. And so I remember in Excellium, the company was growing a lot of people on board. You have to pay the salary every month. End of the year, people want the bonus, even if you don't have the money for, and all these kind of things. And so being alone, at what moment you need someone that I think the right things is not having the same person as yourself, but someone that shares the value with you, the same value, and perhaps to fix basically a direction or a goal. And I remember that the first time we talked to our VC, the first question was, what is your exit plan? And so that's my advice to entrepreneur I'm supporting now. The first question is, did you talk to your co-founder, whatever, and what is your exit plan? Because that fixes the direction and that fixes the objectives. And people have plenty of different objectives, and perhaps what they think today will not be right in 4 years or 5 years. You don't know what will be your personal life and all different situations that can happen to you. And so you have to think about that. Same as you mentioned status, but I will share the shareholder agreement. One of my startups just suffered that situation where nothing was written. The people wanted to leave, they want the company to buy back the shares, but nothing was written, what is the value, and all these kind of things. And it's like a wedding, you fix the thing before because it could happen, and when it happens, it's too late. And that's a mistake we did, and when I divorced, for example, my wife was in position to ask 25% of the company. And at that time, we were not cash. So we cannot pay for that, So it could have created the issues at the company level. So that's why when we married, the first thing was a winning contract in order to protect the company, because that's at what moment when you have 100, 120 people, that was the size of the company, is not just your company anymore, you have 120 people that depend on you, so you cannot just say my interest first. So that's something you need to find a good lawyer or a good team, because if I look what happened to us, that the same team that assist us since the beginning. They know us, they know the history we had, the different up and down we experimented, and it's important to trust them, because they will help you to face the bad time even, and to profit the good time. So that's important to sit down and to fix that. And I'm seeing a lot of startups failing just because at what moment there's a misalignment between the founders, and as an entrepreneur, because I'm spending some time on that, that's one of my key concerns when I look at someone wanting to raise money. What is the team? And not just because the team needs to have all the skills or whatever, but is the guy listening? Is it aware that he cannot manage everything himself? Is it aware of the missing skills that he has or not? And all these kind of things that give you I remember during the Fit for Start jury, you see that immediately, the people that are listening, that are asking questions, compared to the people that think they know everything, and that when bad time will happen, it will be difficult for them. So 10 years ago, that question was not existing. Funding was not an option. You have to finance yourself. And I think that's perhaps something that we have to take back for today, and say to the entrepreneur, if you want to create something, find customer and find contract. It's much more important than finding financing. Finance will come if you are successful, but if you're not successful, currently, there's a lot of money that I've given to startups. But how many of them are successful? How many of them are doing something with that money? And I used to say, when you have no money, you have to be creative and a sense of urgency, and I'm seeing sometimes that when people celebrate a fundraising, I think it's a big mistake we are doing, because it's the beginning, it's not the end. So fundraising is the beginning of a big mess, because the people who give you the money, they expect a return. I remember always the first meeting I had with a VC, and I was not understanding what he was saying to me. He was asking, using terms and all these kind of things. That's why he's asking that question. And I remember we did plenty of mistakes just because of that. So as I told you, I'm a crazy guy. So I decided to do a master in finance and merger and acquisition to be fluent and to understand what they were saying. And I remember 1 year later, when we had a second round of interest from investor, I noticed that I was using the third term of the financial guy in front of me, and immediately it's created the link, and the guy was, okay, he know what he wants, he know what I'm looking for, and it makes the discussion quite easier. I don't like, when you hear some investor or VC, professional VC, they tell you, out of 10 companies in my portfolio, 7 will die, 2 will survive, and 1 will be a big return that will pay for everybody. Say, yeah, but guy, your job is to make the 7 that will die in better shape. So what are you doing for that? Because just putting money and asking on a monthly basis what is the return, I'm not sure is enough. And so you have to understand that there is a kind of industry now behind that. So as an entrepreneur, you raise money in order to reach some goals that will help you to ask for another amount of money. But that means also that you want to grow a lot, because if someone is giving you 1 million at early stage, he's expecting to get 2 or 3 back in return. So it means that you have to triple the value of your company in 18 months or something like that. Is the company you are doing is able to do that? Because if not, fundraising is not necessarily an option, So, today I have the impression that people think that the money is free, So you have a nice idea and someone will give you 2, 3, 400K just to make that. But things change when someone gives you money, and you need to be prepared for that. So as I told you, we had different interests, and the initial one that I was nearly ready to sign because we needed that cash. I went to my people and someone told me, Christophe, if the guy come in the company, I will quit because I will not be able to work with him, He's so irrespectful and all these kind of things. So I said, wow. And you realize that investor will be next to you for the next 3 or 4 years. So you have to be aligned, you have to appreciate him, you have to be able to talk to him, and when it will be good, but also when it will be bad. So I think you need to really feel the guy. You need to ask the bad question during the negotiation, because keep in mind that most of the time, except for business angel, VCs are giving you money that is not their money. It's investor money in their fund. And so that's create a difference between the business angel and the VC. And you need to be clear and transparent of what is the goal. Why the VC will sell you even if you don't want because the fund is going to the end or whatever. This is the kind of tricky question. You need to make sure you understand the kind of investor you have. And now perhaps there's also a benefit for that development of that market as to previous investor or previous investees, entrepreneur that receive money from that company, what they did for you, is it a good choice depending on your project and all these kind of things. And if I take our example, first we choose a corporate VC, which is a little bit different than a VC. Their return, of course, is they expect a return, but it's a little bit different because they are trying to create also value from my point of view. But if I share with you, for the last 4 years, every Friday, we had a 1-hour call to review all the details of the company on a weekly basis. And I can tell you that after every call, I didn't look at that point and they just raised the question on that. Because that DC, their goal was to make sure that we understand the key elements of driving the company, which are important. And now with a single element of performance, I can tell you in advance that this month we will finish here. And they spend the 4 years by just making sure that we master that. We can predict, we are delivering, we can measure, and we know what we are doing. And I think that's created a lot of value for the acquisition or the exit we did, because the company who acquired us is a much more mature company than us, but they look at our processes, they look at the way we're driving the company, they look at the forecast, and we are managing them and we are in control. So that gives a lot of confidence in the buyer. And just to give you an anecdote, they look at the AML processes that we have and they say, wow, this is the kind of process we want to set up in our company. So it means that we did a good job, and that's the job of the VC, because they see so many different companies than you that they can tell you, okay, you do that, it's good, but perhaps there's a better way of doing things. So you need to bring them into the operation also, not just on the financial reporting. I think that's probably my main advice to future entrepreneurs, is that you will sign for 10 years. You will not be successful in 2, 3, 4 years. So you have to be ready to sign for 10 years, means to be dedicated to your company. So I know that, I was talking to an entrepreneur yesterday who said, yeah, but you are a crazy guy, Christophe, so because you were 24/7, but myself, I need to break on the weekend. I want to Okay, but when it's your company, you're not the boss. I think that's what people forget. The bosses are your employees first and your customers secondly. So, when a customer calls on Friday evening because something is not working, you can say, sorry guy, I'm in a weekend, so let's talk on Monday, And so you have to call someone in your company, say, yeah, I know you're not supposed to answer at 22 in the evening on Friday, but here we have an issue with it. So this is something, that it's crazy, and you can do that time to time. But I can tell you for the last 10 years, it was like that always. And so you have to be ready to support that kind of, it's really the wave, it never stops, And so if you are fueling yourself like us by the success, it's dangerous, because where you fix the limit, is it 100 people company, is it 10 million, is it something? You need to fix things like that, because otherwise, on my side, I can continue, today if you give me an idea and say, oh yeah, let's go. But the team needs to follow, and we have in the company people I'm working for 20 years with, and they got children, they got a wife, and their life is changing also. So if they were 200% dedicated at the beginning, at one moment in time, it's normal that they want to review that. So I think the big challenge of building something is that you are not alone.